very first act of the Albanese government was to approve the expansion of the biggest fossil fuel project in this country. Had they taken that to the election, places like Bean, where they won by 350 votes, could have been a very different story. It's been nearly 3 months since the 47th Parliament rose, and in that time I've met Canberrans here at Parliament House, where 1,000 people turned up to listen to Dr Mo talk about his experiences as an emergency doctor in Gaza, at town halls, roundtables, mobile offices and in the community. And from every conversation, one message is clear: we need a parliament with courage, not caution. We need a parliament tackling the hard reform, not just chasing a headline. But in this place, I'm concerned that urgency is lacking, that the big vision is missing. Canberrans aren't asking for miracles. We're asking for a government that matches the magnitude of the challenges with the strength of its response. And the first issue Canberrans raise again and again is housing, because without a safe, affordable place to live, nothing else works for people. More than 3,100 Canberrans are languishing on the waiting list for public housing. That's not a waiting list, it's a warning sign. And if we're not treating housing as a human right, what kind of society are we building? And when it comes to urgency, you just have to look at the CSIRO Ginninderra site. This is well-located, previously used land that's been sitting idle for a decade. We heard so much about federal and territory Labor working together on these sorts of issues, and after 3 years, nothing. It's time to get on with this and other projects to make housing more affordable. Just as urgent as the need for shelter is the need for a livable planet. We're part of nature. We cannot lose sight of that. We are part of nature, and if nature goes down, we are going down with her. And the very first act of the Albanese government was to approve the expansion of the biggest fossil fuel project in this country. Had they taken that to the election, places like Bean, where they won by 350 votes, could have been a very different story. We need better from our elected representatives. The Parliament has an opportunity to deliver reform that measures up to the scale of the crisis. Just look at what's happening in South Australia. We can start with an ambitious 75% floor on our 2035 emissions reduction target. And Canberrans know that climate action is good economics. In all of this is an opportunity when it comes to electrification and the democratisation of an energy system, to actually make it work for households, to be saving thousands of dollars every year if we get it right. What we need is political courage. And there are the numbers in this parliament to do exactly that. On health, Canberrans have very high hopes from the very welcome announcements from the Labor government about affordable and accessible healthcare. We have the lowest bulk billing rate in the country. It's cheaper to drive to Goulburn to get an MRI if you live in the ACT, and that's disgraceful. And this parliament has the opportunity to fix that. The promised 9 out of 10 GP visits to be bulk billed has to apply to people living in the ACT. Good health depends on good government, and Canberrans know the value of our democracy. But when we have whistleblowers like Richard Boyle being prosecuted and the NAC failing to hold one single public hearing, public confidence is eroded. We have to get on with the job of establishing a whistleblower protection authority and reforming the NAC so that there is confidence in our institutions. Canberrans also deserve fair representation in this chamber. Territory rights should be protected, and additional senators for the territories should be part of Labor's agenda this term. Gambling advertising. This is where community good butts up against vested interests, and almost 2 years from the landmark Murphy report. Silence. That's not good enough from a Labor government that has such a whopping majority. Use your political capital for something. Leave a legacy when it comes to gambling advertising in this country, where you have more people under the age of 18 betting than playing basketball. That's the country we live in. Let's change that. On AI, we've got to be clear-eyed about productivity gains, but also the real risks to jobs, privacy and democracy. We have an opportunity to harness the potential of AI, but we have to safeguard against its risks. These are all things that this parliament can and should do, and at every turn I'll be pushing the government for more ambition and putting forward good ideas from the people I represent.
Mate, I've got to tell you straight up, what went down in Parliament this week wasn't just another boring day of politicians droning on while half the country nods off. Nah, this was pure political carnage. We're talking Anthony Albanese, the so-called Prime Minister for the people, cracking under the heat like a servo meat pie left too long under the warmer. And who lit the fire under him? None other than David bloody Pocock. Yeah, the ex-Wallaby-turned-independent senator who decided to drop more bombs on Labor's comfy little club than you'll find on a Bunnings stocktake fireworks sale. Before we unpack this Albanese-Pocock showdown, where Albo melts under pressure, Pocock drops a bombshell, and Parliament turns into a circus, smash that like button like you're done with Labor's empty promises. Subscribe if you're sick of political cowards hiding behind spin. And grab the "Who voted for this" shirt, links in the description. Now, you might be sitting there thinking, come on, it's just another speech. Pollies sledge each other every day. What's the big deal? But nah, this wasn't just a jab across the aisle. This was a direct uppercut to the jaw of the entire Albanese government. I'm talking Pocock standing in the middle of that chamber, chest out like he's about to run through the All Blacks again, and tearing Labor to absolute shreds. And the look on Albo's face? Mate, it was priceless. You could see the bloke twitching in his seat, shuffling papers like he was trying to disappear into the carpet. If you've ever wanted to watch a PM go from smug to stitched up in real time, buckle in. Because here's the thing nobody in the mainstream wants to say out loud. Albo's government walked in promising courage, promising change, promising to finally give Aussies a fair go after the Morrison circus. But what was the first bloody thing they did? Approved the expansion of the country's biggest fossil fuel project. That's right. Before they even hung the family photos in the lodge, they bent the knee to the fossil fuel lobby quicker than you can say, donor check cleared. And Pocock? He called him out on it. Said straight up that if Labor had been honest with the people of Bean, where they scraped in by just 350 votes, they wouldn't have won the bloody seat. Imagine that. The so-called climate-conscious Labor government caught out selling lies at the ballot box. And that's just the beginning, cobber. Pocock didn't stop there. He ripped into them over housing, saying more than 3,000 Canberrans are rotting on waiting lists for public housing. He painted the picture so sharp you could feel it, families stuck in limbo, kids growing up without stable homes, while Labor pats themselves on the back for pilot programs and PowerPoint slides. It was brutal. And Albo? He sat there looking like someone had just told him Dan Andrews was making a comeback tour. But here's the kicker. This wasn't just a bloke venting frustrations. This was Pocock dropping policy grenades that made the Labor benches squirm. He wasn't winging. He was putting forward actual targets. 75% emissions cuts by 2035, a plan for electrification to slash bills, whistleblower protection so democracy doesn't rot from the inside, even a crackdown on gambling ads because, let's face it, we're a country where more kids are betting multis than playing footy. And every word landed like a boot to the ribs. And Albo? Oh mate, this is where it gets juicy. The cameras didn't show the muttering, the side eyes, the little digs across the floor. But reports from inside the chamber reckon Albo was fuming. The PM who loves a photo op with Taylor Swift fans couldn't handle a senator calling out his government's spin for what it really is. Cowardice dressed up as leadership. See you in the next one. And don't forget to smash that like button harder than Albo smashing another promise on climate. And if you're sick of watching Parliament turn into a circus, grab the "Who voted for this" shirt. Wear it when your rent jumps again, when you're stuck on a GP waitlist, or when another gambling ad pops up before the footy. Show them you're done with spin and ready for truth. Stay loud, stay awake, and never stop calling out the cowards who'd rather protect donors than Aussies. This is our country, not their playground.